in our today's class, we'll be going over especially text data cleaning and how do you go about processing text data. In our yesterday's class, we were working with APIs or application programming interfaces. And can some of you who are present in the live class tell me about what have we learned about APIs from yesterday? So just recollect whatever we have studied yesterday and what were some key takeaways from you or for you or from your side? What was something new that you learned? Hello, Sudipto. So guys, I'm just gonna try to revise a few things that we studied yesterday. Let me know in the chat box, what were some key takeaways from the lesson yesterday and what was something new that you learned about APIs? Yep, we now worked with a weather API as well, and we got the response data. So what was the format of the data that we got in? What was the type of the data that our request module returned? Was it JSON or JSON formatted string? Yep, JSON string, right? And then we parse that JSON string to convert it into a dictionary, right? So we converted it to a dictionary. There are two ways of doing it that we saw. The first one was using the JSON module, wherein we could say JSON.loads and give it the text of that response string. Or you could also use the inbuilt method within the response class, which is called response.json. And if you use that on your response object, you will get a dictionary as well. Okay, so both of those things we did. And then towards the later part of the class, we were working with Twitter data and we wanted to get data from our Twitter API, correct? So were everyone able to get the Twitter data in the CSV file for our today's class? Or did you guys have any issues working with that? So yesterday we did a simple search. So let's go ahead and now let's get started right over here. I don't have any theory part to cover as such today. And the contents that we have today, we might not need necessarily entire 2 hours, but we'll see how fast or slow we are today. So let's get into the hands-on session right away. Let's open our files where we were yesterday. Okay, so let me go over here and let's go and open up the file that we were working on yesterday. So I'm gonna go over here and this is the file that I was working on yesterday. Okay, so let me know once everyone has their files open. So Vibha, I think, were you there for the later part of the class? Did you miss it? Okay, so let me see if I can somehow give you this file that we were working on yesterday. I'm not sure if this entire thing will come at once, but I can paste it as 2 separate messages on the Zoom chat over here for you to get started with it. So if I come over here and let's say only Vibha, and this is the first part of the file and this is the second part. So you can paste it inside your .py file, just create a new blank py file and add these 2 messages. Just copy paste these 2 messages over there and you should see something like this on your screen. So this is where we were yesterday. Is everyone with me over here? Does anyone else also need it? Or all of you are at this point over here? Okay, so Sudipto is there. Himanshu is ready as well. Okay, Nitesh also good to go. Let's just wait for Piyush and Vibha. Okay, Vibha is ready as well. Piyush, how are you coming along? Okay, great. All right. So we were over here yesterday, and what we did was we used the Twitter API credentials. This is something that I had provided you from my account, but what I had asked you guys to do is create these, think of them as passwords to get into an account, and you should treat them as you treat your passwords, because anyone who has access to them can literally do anything with your account. So I have made sure that these keys only have read access. So there is nothing much harm in with these keys that I have right now in front of me, because they only have read access to the account. But when you are creating your keys, I had also asked you guys to look up, what are some best practices to store these keys. So did anyone get a chance to look that up in terms of what are some best practices to store your API keys? Should you store within your code, or is there a better way of storing them? Did anyone get a chance to look it up? Whether you got a chance or not, just let me know, so that I don't wait over here a lot. You could say no or yes. Okay, so let me tell you one common practice. So whether you are hosting it in the cloud or no, whether it's on your machine, it doesn't matter. It is still a virtual machine that is running, right? So it's still insecure whether you store it in the cloud or no, wherever it is. The only thing that no, so let me give you some best practices. So some people, what they do is store these API keys in their environment variables as well, because rather than storing them as a pure ASCII text inside uh, your code files, uh, some people feel much more better if they are inside their environment variables. Okay, so that is one way of doing it. You could also create something like a config file, but again, then you are storing it as a raw text somewhere on your computer. So doesn't help a lot, but these are some ways to store your API keys and your credentials. You could also store it in your yes. So just like whenever you are logging to GitHub or Git, the Git shell, now the way GitHub will authenticate will be using a RSA public private key, right, which is stored again inside your environment variables somewhere. So that is one way of doing it. Again, if you find a better way and if you would like to share it with me as well, let me know in the chat. Okay. All right. So we were over here. Did everyone get a chance to create a CSV file out of all the 1,000 tweets, about 1,500 tweets that I wanted you guys to look up? So Piyush, the question is, can we encrypt these keys? Whether we encrypt it or not, to the server, we have to send this string, right? So whatever we do before it, let's say we encrypt this key into something, before sending it to server, we'll still have to decrypt it somehow, right? Because our server won't understand, or our API won't understand if we encrypt the key and then send it. This is indeed encrypted on the network itself, right? So you see this consumer secret over here and the consumer key. So this consumer key will be indeed now used to encrypt the secret over here. Okay, or I'm not sure if it is the other way around. But the reason why we have two strings over here is over the network, it is surely encrypted, right? During the API call, it is encrypted for sure. But on your file itself, is there a way we can store it in a better way rather than storing it in plain text? Okay. So Piyush, it's again the same thing, right? Whether you use a hashing algorithm or encryption, it's just a different form of doing the same thing. You're taking something as an input and giving something else as an output. The encryption is a form of hashing. So both might have different applications, but in some form of other, it takes an input function and gives an output. Given a function, you take an input and give something else as an output. So think about it. What else can you do with this plain ASCII text, which is lying there, which can access your entire account? Okay. All right. So can you, okay. So now if you were able to get it for other things as well, that is fine. It also depends upon Twitter itself and the time of the day, and because the standard version that they make it available for students and those stuff, they don't necessarily give you all the tweets. Okay, only in enterprise edition of their API they'll allow you to access all the tweets. So I just wanted to make sure that you have good enough amount of data for us to start working with. All right. Did anyone else try to get more than 100 records of tweets? Okay, great. So Piyush was able to get it. Okay, Sudipto has it as well. All right. So for others, some of you were not even over here. So let me go ahead and do it right now in front of you. So this is the normal search API that we were using. That was given us. Let me just go ahead and run this once again for you to for me to show you guys. So we did a normal search over here using the TweePy, and we were getting the first 100. As you see, about 79. We were asking for 100, but Twitter doesn't guarantee how much are we gonna get. So we are getting about 79 tweets, and this might vary for you. So what I want to do is now get more tweets and more historical data as well. So the way to go about it is these results are actually only from the first page of the Twitter search. So whenever so not literally the first HTML page over there, but the results are returned just like when you call a database, and you might get the first 100 rows, right? Similarly, Twitter returns first 100 rows as your first page, and then so on with the next 100 and so on. Okay, so what we want to do is rather than, and over here we are saying that results per page is 100. And again, it's not guaranteed that Twitter will. This is a suggestion from our side that this is what we can accept. All right. So rather than doing this, because this is going to give us only first page results, what we could do is use something called as a tweepy.cursor class. And this cursor class will help us to iterate over multiple pages of the results. Okay, so I'm going to comment this thing out over here. So I commented out the search and all of these things. So I don't want this. Rather, what I can do is, so this is the task to get a CSV file. Okay, so let's start from the start. Let's also create a CSV file now. So I'm going to say file out is equal to. So I also want to use let's use the CSV module over here. That will make our lives much easier. So I'm going to import CSV. Okay, so I imported the CSV module on the top. File out is equal to, let's say, open. I'm going to say tweets.py and in the right mode. Okay, so why am I using a plus over here? Can someone tell me? And I hope whoever hasn't completed it, you guys are following along with me. So then I'm going to say writer is equal to csv dot I want to use the CSV writer module over here. So I'm going to say csv.writer, and let's give it the file name. I'm going to say file out over here. Then once we have that, let's say for an item in tweepy, and again, this is from the documentation. Oh, that's correct. So CSV over here. Thanks for correcting that. So I'm going to say for item in tweepy.cursor. Okay. So this cursor of class or method will help us to iterate over all the results of the search API. So I'm going to say, who do I want to iterate over? I want to iterate over the results of API.search. Now this is the same search that we were using before over here, right? The same search method. I want to iterate over this. And what are the parameters that I want to pass to this? I want to pass the parameters the same, which is the encephalitis syndrome, right? So let's do this. Okay, so I can do this encephalitis syndrome over here. And once I have this, I can say how many items do I want from this result. So I can say, let's start off with 100 and then we'll increase it. So we am getting 100 results over here. And now I can say, I can now create my row for CSV file. So for each row, I want the array over here. So I'm going to say tweet is equal to a empty array. And I'm going to keep appending to this tweet array over here and then finally write this tweet. So ultimately what I want to do is tweet equals to, so I can say writer dot write row, right? I want to do this. So I want to keep adding to this tweet array. I can do everything in one line over here as well. The only thing, I'm just trying to make it more readable and so that it's easier for us to make changes if we have to do something in future. Okay, so I'm going to say tweet.append. Now this item dot, the first thing that I had asked you is I at least need these columns over here, which is I want the text, I want the created at, and I want the location. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to say item dot text. Let's start with created at. Okay, so I want item dot created at over here. And where are we getting these parameters from? Where are we getting this dot created from? Well, we are getting it from the Twitter search API documentation. So if you go over here and search for Twitter object, okay. So let's go to the documentation for the Twitter object. Now again, we are looking this not at the tweepy documentation, but the official Twitter documentation itself. Now, if everything looks similar, it looks similar that tweepy must be implementing the same names over there as well. So unless tweepy has changed something from their side, it should remain the same. Okay, so as you see, we are getting the created at over here. There is an attribute called created at. There is an attribute called text. Now this is where we are getting our the names for these keys from. Okay, so I'm going to say tweet.append item.created at. Then I'm going to say tweet.append item dot, let's say we want the screen name of the user. Okay, and then tweet.append item.text. Okay, and then finally we already have this thing, writer.write row tweet. Okay, so if everything is right, we should get at least 100 results over here. To make sure what we are, which record we are at, let me also put a counter over here. So I'm going to print adding item, let's say I, and then let's say item.id over here so that we know which item we are adding. And then I can say I should say I plus equals to 1 so that I know. Okay. So just created a simple counter for me to know which record I am at. Okay. So let's print this out and see what happens. Okay. So there is some errors over here. So we are not able to authenticate to our Twitter over here for some reason. Let me check what's going on. So do you guys see anything going wrong over here? So for some reason it was working fine. Where are we getting stuck? For item in tweepy.cursor, so what is the status code 429? Let's search for that. Oh, it seems like a lot of you are running this script over here and you might be using my credentials. So that's a lesson learned that I shouldn't give out my API keys a lot to you guys. So did anyone run it too many times with more than 100 or 1000 items? Right. Does anyone has any other API keys that we can use right now, which is working? Did anyone get their API keys approved last night? Okay. Did you guys have your CSV file ready yesterday? So who doesn't have their CSV file ready from yesterday? Okay. All right. So let's do this. So take a leap of faith over here on me that once you run this, we'll be able to generate a CSV file. Right now, we are not getting it because we have exceeded our amount of tweets that we can do over here, or sorry, amount of API requests that we can make, right? Because seems like a lot of you have been using my API key over there, and we exceeded the limit on how much we can get the results from Twitter. Okay. So what I'm going to do is also make sure that I send you the CSV file. So let me see if it is already there on your course page. So let's go to your course page over here. All right. So once I go to the course page, you should see the text data cleaning assets. Okay. So let's click on that and download it. Okay. And I'm going to hit the download button over here. Okay, let's move it to the place I was working on. So I'm going to move this to okay, so I was working over here and I'm going to move it over here. Text data cleaning. Okay, so do you guys, yeah, sure. Over here, what we are saying is limited to 100 items max. So if you put 100 over here, it will give us maximum of 100 items. this cursor will stop at 100 items. So guys, let's go to your course page and download this assets for text data cleaning over here. Are you able to get this zip file, and are you able to open it like the way I did? So reach over here. This is the completed files. So right now we don't want to work with the completed files, obviously, but at least get this CSV file. Let's get the tweets.csv file out of over here. So let's copy it or cut it from here, and let's put it somewhere outside that where we want to work in. Okay, so I have the tweets.csv file over here. So the only other thing that you have to do over here to get the same CSV file, that the similar form of CSV file that I got, is also make sure that you add a header over here. So if you do this, writer.write row, this will add a header to that CSV file, which is the name of the columns that we have. Okay, so that CSV file, if we don't add it, it won't have a header line, right? So for us to work with our data set and pandas data frame, we need to have the columns over there. Okay, so your code is working for Twitter. Okay, so can you come over here, created at, and let's say screen name, and then text over here. So the only thing that I'm pointing out is to get the same CSV file as I did over there. What you need to make sure is we also write our header to the CSV file. Okay. All right. So just wanted to make sure that you understand that once you run this code, you will be able to generate the CSV file like this one. So does everyone have a CSV file, which is tweets.csv in their working directory? Or let me know if you want me to tell you how did I get this. I want you to see this CSV file. Everyone getting the CSV file over here? I see a yes from Himanshu. Udipto has it. Okay, Vibha got it as well. Okay, so seems like all of you have it. So this is the CSV file that we have got out of Twitter. And as you see over here, we have 3 fields: created at, the screen name of the user who tweeted it, and the text. Okay, so generally the case with text data analysis is, now this is a lot of unstructured data. Okay, some of the data sets that we have seen before, IPL data set and all of those things, they were kind of structured in the sense of we had some columns over there which had specific information. It could be the date or the bowler name and those kind of fields. Over here, besides having the structure in the sense that there are 3 columns as well, but most of the information, right, the valuable information is in this tweets column over here, the text column over here, right? So this guy, Jitharam7349, had retweeted this tweet, right? He had retweeted because there is an RT over here. I hope you guys are able to see my screen properly. If not, let me try to zoom in a little over here. Okay, so I hope you are able to see my screen. So because you see an RT over here, which means that it's a retweet. Okay, so this guy had retweeted this user's tweet, which had something like this in the text and some of the hashtags over here as well. Okay, so what we see over here is a bunch of text data, and something which is interest to us is this third column over here is text. And a common task when we are doing text processing is trying to do a topic analysis in terms of what we want to find is how are people talking about this particular issue, and how is the trends changing, right? So when you go to Google Trends and you see what are some new words that people are searching on, we are trying to find trends in the and patterns in that data. So what if someone at home ministry or someone in the government, they want to find out uh, know is this situation getting worse about this disease, or is it improving, and how are things changing in time? So they might use the Twitter data to do that sort of analysis. But a common impediment that we see whenever we are working with text data is that there is no common structure to it. And also a lot of time the text that we get from things like Twitter, it is a lot of dirty data. We need to clean it up a lot, right? So today we are going to work about few tricks and few operations that you will be performing on the text column over here to clean this up. So first of all, can someone point out what could be some issues, or what are some problems that you see in the text column over here which you think might be a major hindrance for someone who is trying to do things like topic analysis, or you are just trying to getting a sense of what all is being spoken about in this tweet? So look at the text column over here, the third column. Okay, open it with Excel or something else if you think that is much easier for you to look at. But otherwise, just go ahead and look up the third column over here. And can you tell me what are some problems that you think that some data analyst might come across if he or she is trying to analyze this third column in their Python script? So what are some elements do you see in the third column? So let me give you an example. Okay, so one example that I can give you is, let's say in this tweet over here, this particular tweet over here, I'm seeing that there is a 3 dots at the end over here. Okay, so this 3 dots for a data analyst, it doesn't make sense. And if we try to give it to a machine learning algorithm, it might be an issue, right? So we have 3 dots over here, which I don't want to give it to my machine learning algorithm, because if I give those 3 dots, it doesn't make sense to the algorithm, and the data that will come out of it will affect our model performance. So I want to get rid of anywhere. If I see these 3 dots, I want to get rid of that. Okay, so Piyush says that he saw ampersand sign over there. Right, so there's somewhere which has an and amp or a ampersand sign. Okay, what else do you see? Yeah, so Hindi language as such, the language itself might not be an issue, but the thing is, we are not just dealing with the ASCII key set over here. It's not just English data over here. It is a UTF-8 encoded file. Okay, and when you try to do this as well, so there is one more thing that I would like to point out. When you try to write this row to a CSV file, you would see that it will complain that this is a UTF-8 text that you're trying to write. So you can avoid that by saying encoding equals to UTF-8 over here. Okay, when you are writing your file, you could say UTF-8 over here. Okay, hopefully now let's see if that's working. Okay, so it seems like it's working now. We have got past that rate limit. So as you see now, I've created the CSV file again, but let's stick with the CSV file and let's work with this one. Okay, so Hindi language, as Nitesh pointed out, it is a UTF-8 encoded file and not just ASCII characters over here. So we need to make sure that we take that into account. What else? So how about these links over here? From perspective of analyzing this data in terms of doing topic analysis, does it make sense to keep these links? or we would rather prefer, let's say we're trying to give it to a machine learning model, we might just get rid of these links as well, or maybe extract it and put in some other column, but not in the text field itself. Does everyone agree with me on that, that we would rather take these links off from this text field and maybe put it in some other column, not necessarily in the same text field? Okay, right. So that is something that we must do. And how about the hashtags? Should we keep them in the same text column, or maybe you should create a new column with the hashtags that were mentioned? Yeah, so again, it's a matter of choice. Also depends on what you are trying to do. In some cases, you might just want to get rid of it. And some cases you might think, okay, this is important data as well, but not from in terms of the text itself, right? So when you're trying to do a topic analysis of just the text itself, no, you might want to take this into a separate column, or maybe you would want to say that, hey, you know what, let me just get rid of the hash over here. Okay, it is important data, Sudipto, I agree with you, but a lot of times when you write hashtag, you'll see that most of them you would write it as one single word rather than saying children and deaths, okay, which makes sense from English standpoint. But whenever you're writing a hashtag, you'll combine them into saying children deaths, which is not really a real word, right? And now your machine learning model thinks that this is a new word itself. Okay, so having English or no, yeah, we can separate it, but are there any strategies that you have to separate it? I don't think it's an easy task to do. If you have the children deaths over here, how will you know each and every uh, hashtag? So yeah, if you see that they always have camel case, but how do you know that everyone is going to put a camel case over there? Right? So if someone is over here, I can't I create a hashtag with saying here underscore something, or so is Twitter defining for us that everything has to be camel case whenever you write it? I don't think so. So the user data over there is, we don't dominate what a user can write over there, right? So how many corner cases will you take into account? It's not possible for us to separate just based on camel case. In this situation, yes, because this particular word has camel casing, but not everyone is going to write their hashtags with camel case. Do you agree with me on that? Okay, so that's one thing. How about the apostrophes and the question marks and those things? From perspective of text analytics, I think we would rather like to get rid of them. So everywhere, anywhere we have no things like colons or these things. Now, what you would see is whenever we are doing text analytics, there are some words and some punctuations in any language, they would appear far more often, right? And what your machine learning model would then learn is that the word important, most important one, let's say you have a word like, so two things over here, okay? But what I'm trying to point out is whenever you write a text, let's say if I'm writing, let me create a text over here. So let's create a new file that we're gonna work with. So I'm gonna say file, save as, okay? So I want to be in the same CSV file where I have my Twitter data. So I'm gonna say over here, API, this is a tweets.csv file. In the same directory, I want to create clean.py. Okay, so this clean.py will help me to clean that CSV file. Okay, so what I'm trying to point out is, let's say if I have two sentences over here, and let me just write down a single simple now some random words over here. Okay, so this is not even a perfect sentence. Okay, okay, so not grammatically correct sentences as well. But the point that I'm trying to make is, in any language, what you would see is there are some words, they appear far more often, but don't necessarily mean that they are of any importance, right? So the words like the, is, right? In this case, our machine learning model will then learn that these are the most important words which are occurring, and now it will highlight those words and now push it to the top. When you say that this is the most important topic, right? What will we do with that? Doesn't make sense. So one thing that we'll also do is clean up all the what we call as the stop words in any language. Okay, so in this case, now these all would be stop words, which is the, is, we don't care about those. The only thing that we care about is here over here. Okay, and let's say things like question marks, right? So in some cases, yes, if you're doing advanced analytics where you want to consider if it is a question or not as well, then maybe yes, but it is too complicated for us to get to that point. But you would also like to get rid of all punctuations, right? So you could keep hey, my name, and again, is, doesn't make sense. Okay, so we'll get rid of these things as well. Okay, so does everyone understand now what are the kind of things or operations that we'll try to do on our text data? We want to clean it up in a way that it makes sense for us to do further analysis on it. So we might want to do topic analysis. We might want to do the word counts of the elements that appear in each of the tweets. We might want to get some predictions on whether the death toll is increasing or decreasing based on the features like text over here, right? So in those cases, we might want to have as little of extraneous information over there as we can. Okay, so we want to get rid of any extra information that is out there. Does everyone understand what are we trying to do? So Sudipto, natural language processing will be the second element after you clean that data. Okay, so once you have cleaned your data, and once you have, and again, we are going to use some packages which are commonly used in natural language processing. And I had asked you guys to install NLTK as well, which is the natural language toolkit. A lot of people think that cleaning the text data itself is natural language processing, but it's not so. Once you have your natural language, and what you do after that, maybe you're trying to do some sort of sentiment analysis. Okay, and all those things will be just 2 or 3 lines of code. Once you have cleaned the data, which is the major element of any NLP pipeline, is just cleaning the data. Once you have cleaned it, everything else is so much more easier. Okay, and I don't want to pitch this to you guys that we are doing NLP or we are doing natural language processing. What we are doing right now is just cleaning the text data. What you do after that, you do topic analysis, you do unsupervised learning, you do natural language processing, or whatever you want to do with it. It depends on you, and it's far more easier task than anything that we're going to do right now. Okay, everyone with me? Okay, so these are the kind of operations that we are going to do. We want to make sure that we clean our text data field over here to have we want to preserve the most important information. Okay, from all the information that we have, we'll preserve the most important information that we think might help some data analyst to identify what are the patterns going on, what is the topic that someone is talking about in that particular tweet, and not necessarily things like, so we might want to get rid of these things as well. So RT over here, retweet, the username, it doesn't make sense. If we are trying to find what is this person talking about, we don't want to know. It might be a good thing to add in a new column and put it somewhere else. But right now we are not interested in who is this person retweeting to. We don't want the usernames and those kind of things. All we care about is what is the content that someone is speaking about. Okay. All right, so let's get in over here. Let's open our clean.py file. Make sure that this clean.py file is in the same folder where you have your CSV file as well. Okay, so let's say I am over here. So I am in my API folder. So you see that my clean.py file is in the same folder as my tweets.csv file. Okay, so make sure that they are in the same directory. Create a new blank file in this directory where you have the tweets.csv file. then come over here. Let's start off with our favorite package that we use for data analysis, which is pandas. Okay, so I'm going to say import pandas as PD. Okay, and then I'm going to say the usual operation to read the CSV file. We're going to say data frame equals to read underscore PD dot read underscore CSV, and I'm going to say tweets dot CSV. And one thing that we'll do over here is also make sure that we provide the encoding. As I said, there are some, no, as you saw over there, there was some Hindi language text as well. So if we directly try to read this, it is not going to work for us. What we need to make sure is also what we do is read this in the UTF-8 format. Okay, so we're going to read this in the UTF-8 format over here. So I'm going to say encoding is equal to UTF-8. Okay, that's how we store the data. So if you look at the twitter.py file, we said save the file as UTF-8. So when we are reading it, we'll also read it as now tell our pandas that this is encoded in UTF-8. Does that make sense? All right, so reach to this point, read your data frame and let me know once you have read it. Okay, let's make sure we are getting it. So I'm going to say print df.shape. So this should give us the data frame over here. Okay, my bad. Oh my God, what am I doing today? Okay, much better. All right, so I guess it was the font size which was distracting me. Okay, so reach to this point and let me know. Yeah, it seems like I got my CSV file overwritten. Do you guys have the CSV file which has more data in it? So how many rows are you getting? Yeah, it should be 694. So let me make sure that I have the one with 694. So if I go over here, show in the folder, I removed this guy. So it should be this. So let's extract this again. Okay, so inside this 130 KB file, right? So I want to go over here. Okay, so this one was 23 KB. Now I have 130 KB file, which has more tweets. Now, thanks for pointing that out, Sudipto. And now I have 694 rows. Okay, so all I did was accidentally, when I was showing you guys that, I had overwritten my CSV file with less data. It was more recent data, but it was less data. So I just copy pasted the CSV file again to have the same number of tweets as you guys. Okay, everyone with me? Do we have 694 rows and 3 columns in our data set? Okay. All right. So let's do one thing. Let's take one tweet from there and let's try to print that out and let's see what do we have over there. So I'm going to say print. I want to get the one particular tweet. So let's just take any random tweet over here. So I'm just going to say, so which method name should I use to get, let's say if I wanted index 23. So which method should I take from df to get the row number 23? So Sudipto says ilock. Can everyone try it? So if you use iLock over there, which is iLocation index at this, can you try that method out? Can you get the row at index 23? What should I write over here? iLock. We want to use iLock 23 over here, right? So this is how you would get the row number 23. And let's say I just want to print out the text from it. So I'll say text, and let's see what do I have over here. All right, so this is the text that we have from before. Let's also try some other one. Let's say if I have 100 over here, what do I have? Okay, so this is a retweet, so that is good. So everyone over here, everyone got, we printed out one tweet, and I said before, and hopefully we'll do some operations on it, then we'll print out after, and we'll see how did we clean up the text, how good did we do. Okay, so everyone over here, okay, great. So now we have this this tweet that we want to clean up. So let's also create a function that will help us clean it. So what I'm going to do over here is, let's create a function over here, so which will say, let's say clean data. Okay, once I've created this function clean data, this clean data will take one tweet at a time, right? So this clean data method over here will take the tweet text, okay, and hopefully we'll be able to return the, so for now let's just return tweet text itself, okay, or maybe we should return a variable called as clean text, right? So it takes in the tweet text and returns a clean text over here. We haven't defined what that is, right? So for now let's just say clean text is equal to tweet text. Okay, so right now we are not doing anything. We're just defining an empty method over here which cleans the data. It takes in tweet text and returns a clean text. So how should I, if I want to apply this transform to this data frame, the text column, how should I go about doing it? And again, message me privately. And for those who don't know it, try to Google up. So I want to apply this function for every row in this text column. So how do I do it using pandas? What method from pandas should I use? I want to apply this function. So this function, we have already done it in the class as well. When we saw data transformation, if I want to transform the data using a function, and I want to submit all of the rows of this data frame to this function one by one, which method will I use? So Piyush, can you try it out? Can you check the documentation if there is a method like that, and how will you use it? So guys, I'm gonna wait over here for you to find out. I want you guys to find out how will you transform the data in the text column using the function clean data. So that is, how can we pass all rows of the text one by one to the function. And for those who are done, go ahead with it and try it out. You already know what are the kind of things that we are trying to do, right? So the kind of things that we might be interested is getting rid of these three dots. We want to get rid of all the ampersands. We want to get rid of the usernames, right? The only thing that should be left in the end is the important topics from this. So it could be like Muzaffarpur, death, right? Acute, AES. So all these things. So guys, essentially what I want is if I print the same thing again over here, so if I say print the same thing again, okay, I should see that now let's say if I say tweet text plus 333 or whatever, right? XYZ. So after tweet text, every column will have an XYZ appended to it, right? So if I print the same thing again, can you do this? So over here, I'm writing a simple function which takes in a tweet text and appends an XYZ to the end. Okay, it could be anything. But what will you do over here to apply this function to the tweets? So if you do that correctly, what it should happen is now you should get before as this and then after is the same thing plus XYZ at the end. Okay, so if you got it correctly. So tell me what will you use over here? So guys, let me know what are you trying, and if you're getting stuck somewhere, maybe I can help you out. But be sure that you speak out and what's going on in your mind. What are you trying? If you need more time, I'll be more than happy to wait for you over here. But if there are any issues, please let me know in the chat box. Yeah, go ahead and try it out, Sudipta. And guys, there are so many different ways of doing the same thing. So to remove some things like punctuation, or to remove the username, or not to do something else, there are at least 10 different ways that are available uh, to do the same thing. And just pick the way a method and stick with know what works for you. And of course, after you get to a point where you are trying to optimize, you would obviously choose a method which you can research about which method is the optimal solution. But the worst thing that you could do is try to optimize it at this stage itself. Okay, don't try to optimize it right now. But once you are done with that, then you can start optimizing it. All right, so I think most of you have got it, but for those who are not getting it, let me just show you how I would go about doing it. And as I said, if you have your own ways, if something else works for you, that is fine. Let me tell you a method that I prefer whenever I'm trying to apply any sort of transforms to my data frame. So what I would do is I would say data frame of text over here. This is what I want to transform. Now this is equals to what? This is equals to, I want to take again data frame of text and I want to apply. I want to use the apply method which is available on my data frame. Whenever you use the apply method, what you could do is apply a function over here. So I could say apply clean data. Now once I do this, each row of my data frame dot text will be passed to this clean data function one by one, and it will get transformed with whatever the return value that I give over here. Okay, if I say axis equals to 1, this will give me one column at a time. So it will pass the columns of your data frame one at a time. Over here I have only one column, so that doesn't make sense. But what I could say is just say apply clean data. That will pass all rows of my data frame of text one by one to this function. Let's see if this works. And indeed, as you see over here, we got the same text followed by an XYZ over here, which I added over here, right? So the say all rows over here, if, whether it is 23 or 24, everything will be now transformed with an XYZ at the end. Okay. So this is a difficult one, seems. Let's stick with 23 first, and then we'll see if there is something on 24 that we could do. Okay. All right. So has everyone tried the apply method? Go ahead and use the apply method and see if this is working for you. So we haven't done anything fancy yet. All we did is we saw how to pass our rows of the data frame to the clean data method one row at a time, so that we can transform each row individually. Is everyone over here? Okay, great. All right, so our next task will be to let's start off with something simple over here. Okay, so let's see if I go over here 20, row 20 over here. So I have each retweet starting with RT at the username followed with a colon. So I want to remove this thing from all tweets. So anywhere if I find something like this pattern over here, I want to get rid of it. I don't want it in my text. So can you go ahead and do that thing over here? So step 1, I want you to remove, let's say task 1, remove all retweet text of pattern RT, then you have a space and then a @ sign and then the username and then a colon. So I want to remove this pattern anywhere. If I see this in my text, I want to get rid of it. Okay. So tell me, how will you go about doing it? And again, there will be so many different solutions over here. Just be sure and think about solutions which are more robust. So what if something goes wrong over here, right? In the username, what if username has a number? Will your solution still work? Now, so all those things. And Piyush says we could use regular expressions for it, right? Because we have seen that with regular expressions, we can detect patterns in our text. So yeah, go ahead and use it, Piyush, and see how can you use regular expressions as well. Okay guys, so let's first go and find out the regular expression that is gonna work in our case. So as Piyush pointed out, we could use regular expressions, and Sudipto has also given us if you can also go ahead and share it with everyone, Sudipto, after we are done with this. So you can all do it using multiple methods. So one way is by using regular expressions, because we have used regular expressions in past. We know that we could use regular expressions to do things like these. Okay, so let me paste this text that I'm trying to work with over here. So again, I'm using the regex101.com site to work with my regular expressions. This is same thing that I've shown you in the first or second class as well, but feel free to use any other regular expression tool that you might be aware of. So let me paste that link over here for you guys as well. So I'm over here. Okay, and I've pasted my tweet over here. So reach over here if you are trying it out and you haven't got it. I won't solve the complete thing for you, but let me give you a hint so that you can get started. So reach to this page, regex101.com, and paste your tweet just like I did in the text string over here. So everyone over here, okay, great. So let's try to come up with the regular expression that might work in our case. So let's say, so to remove this thing, we know that all our retweets are going to start with this keyword RT, right? So assuming from what we have seen in our data set, we can also look up the documentation for Twitter, but assuming from what we've seen in our data set, it looks like all the retweets begin with RT. So let me write RT over here in the match string, and now as you're seeing, I'm matching the RT over here, right? And then we have a space, right? Either we can use a space over here, or let's say if we are not sure about a data set, let's say when someone was creating this data set, they might have added an extra space in between. If we don't trust how many number of spaces does exist in this data set over here, what we could use is a regular expression token over here, which is /s. Okay, so when we use /s over here, it is going to match any number of spaces that are outside it. And as you see over here, in the description over here, it says that /s matches any white space character. Okay, so it could be /r/n /tab, or no, any blank space character that you will see, it will be matched by your regular expression. So Sudipto, with your the way that you are using, the method that you are using, it might fail if you have some other character in between over here. Okay, so if you have a tab or something like that, it won't work. But the beauty and the power of regular expression is that you can express what you're trying to match more in a much more powerful way, or no, it is much more you're gonna get much more better results if your data set is not cleaned properly, or there is some junk characters in between and all those things. Okay, so once you are over here, so as you see, we have RT and any number of spaces. Then what is the next character that I should add over here? What is the next thing that I should add for me to match this entire username? Yeah, the @ character, right? So once I add a @ I have matched the @ as well. And now this could be any username, right? We don't know what this is. can you go ahead and find out what might be a suitable match for us to write over here? Just like I added a /s over here, you could look at the reference sheet over here. So let me try to see if I can get this little bit more up. Doesn't seem like it works. Okay, so you can look at the common tokens over here and see what can we use to match. Let's say we want to match any word that comes after that. So, and see what the description of that element says. So with the capital W, it says any non-word character, but not the word itself. Like if it is any non-word which has a digit or something like it, it will match that. So let's say if I use this one, what happens if I say anything between A through Z or capital A through Z. Now this is matching all A through Z, capital A through Z, and this could be plus over here, right? So if I say A through Z, capital A through Z, and let's say if I know that it could have any numbers as well, right? So if I say 0 to 9 as well, I can add that as well. So with this regular expression, I'm going to match the entire username, which has RT, any number of blank space in between, then an add character, and then any characters of this set, small 8 through Z, capital A through Z, and 0 to 9. Okay. And let's say if you use /W as well, let's see if that works as well. So if I say /w and then add a plus sign, now this will work as well. The only difference is so this is equal to the same thing over here, right? So the only thing is it also adds an underscore. So you can also match for underscores. So /W plus will work. Okay. So does everyone agree that we can use this regular expression to match our username format over here? So now that you know the regular expression, can you try and do it? How would you replace this string, match the regular expression and then replace this string with, let's say you can replace it with empty characters, right? You can just get rid of this string. So can you try to do that now? So search for how will you replace a string matching the regular expression and then removing that matched element from the string. Again, guys, so here's how we did it. So we wanted to match this RT at ANI or no, this username pattern, right? So what we said is let's go to Regex 101 and let's put a string over here that we want to match. So we can say RT over here because we know that all our retweets start with this keyword RT. Then we could have any number of blank spaces over here. So I can say /s. If I do /s over here, so not any number of, but any blank space character. It could be /r, /n, /t or anything. Okay. Then I said that I'll definitely have a @ character because that's how the username start. And then I could say either I could use small a through Z over here because this can have any words over here, capital A through Z, 0 through 9. And then I could say plus over here. Now this will match this entire keyword over here, and make sure you also add a colon after that because I don't want this colon as well. Or what we could also say is this is the same thing as writing /w. Okay, so this will match the same thing. So this is how we found the regular expression on how to remove this RT, this pattern. Okay, so go ahead and try it out. How will you remove this pattern from your string? So did you guys find the name of the method that you could use from the RE package, which can use to replace a pattern with empty string? Yeah, you could use the sub method over there. That's correct, Piyush. So, and again, there are so many different ways of doing the same thing. Just use what works for you, or something which feels more natural to you. Right, so as Piyush pointed out, let's go ahead and do that. We want to use the RE package over here. So I'm going to use import RE or the regular expression over here. Then let's come over here and, okay, so let's get rid of this XYZ first. Okay. And then you could say re.sub. And what do you want to substitute? This regular expression pattern. And that's why I'm starting with R over here. Right. So I want to substitute this pattern. Okay, I want to remove this pattern with, replace this pattern with this empty string, right? And what do I want to do? Which text I want to use it on? I would want to use it on tweet text, and let's store it in clean text, right? So this clean text should be equal to, we don't need this one as well. So this clean text is equal to re.sub. Remove this pattern from the regular expression and remove this pattern from this tweet text and replace it with, or find this pattern, replace it with empty string in this tweet text. Okay, let's see if this works. And as you see, before we had this thing in our string, and now we don't have it in the after over here. So this should say after. Okay, let's not add this space over here so that it is more clear. Okay, so before we had this and after we have this. Okay, so we were able to get rid of the rt/username expression. Okay, so one more thing that I would like to tell you is this username can appear anywhere in the text itself as well. So I could have, when I'm talking to someone else, I could have @ani over here as well. In that case, our regular expression is not matching this @ani. Okay, so somewhere in your text, you will also see that some usernames are mentioned in the text itself. So I want to get rid of the all places where I have the username itself in the text itself. So can we get rid of those things? So task 2, remove all places where @username appears in the string. Yep, Piyush, please go ahead. Yeah, so over here what we are saying is, no, this will replace it with anything that you want. So if I replace it with XYZ, now you will see that the RT@ANI is replaced with XYZ. So I don't want anything over here, so I'm putting an empty string over here. Does that make sense? Okay, great. So guys, this is similar to the first one. Let's do it quickly. Remove all the username where it appears in the string. Go over here and see how will you match anywhere where you have @ANI or any username. It is simple. We already done something similar just right now. So it shouldn't take more than 10-20 seconds for you to do this. All right, so what will be the regular expression that we will use to replace the occurrences of username in the string over here? Can someone tell me what regular expression I can use to remove this at username in the string based on what we just did? So let's get rid of this. I don't want this now. All my usernames start with, yeah, you could use any blank space with, no, we don't even need to match the blank space before. Right? If in that case it is there, it will start with the point where you want to start with. Okay. So at W plus should work, right? So if I say add W plus, this will match any username for us. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. So I don't want any username. So I can say again, could say clean text is equal to, I just want add W plus wherever this is in tweet text, remove it. So right now we don't have it over here, but somewhere if it is there inside the text, it will get removed. Okay. So now that is done. Now what I want you to do is also look at this 23 over here. This also has a link, the hyperlink. Can you find out the pattern for hyperlink and replace the hyperlink with empty string? So let's get rid of all hyperlinks from our data over here. So Nitesh, Himanshu, I hope you guys, Vibha, I hope you guys are following on what we are doing over here. I haven't heard from you guys and girls lately. Okay, great. So the next task 3 is to remove all hyperlinks. And we'll use the same method. Just find the regular expression for hyperlinks and replace it with empty string. Oh yeah, we need to do this on clean text. So thanks for pointing it out. So we'll keep modifying our clean text over here so that at every stage we process what was the output from the previous step. So let's go ahead and find out the regular expression for hyperlinks over here. So I was finding on Google, and what I stumbled up was this regular expression. So either you could use this, and depending upon how strict of rules that you want, you could use any one of them. The bigger your expression, more time costly in terms of matching the pattern it will be. So I've selected this one over here, and again, depends on how strictly your URLs are made in your data, or what kind of URLs exist. Like URLs could be a local IP address as well, right? That is someone is putting. But if you are sure that your Twitter data doesn't have it, then you don't have to worry about that. But bigger your regular expression will be, the less efficient it will be. So let's create a variable over here. I'm going to call it URL regex pattern, and this will be this guy over here. And where did I get it from? If I go on Google and if you search on hyperlink URL regex, you will find out, you get one of the expressions which will work for your data set. Okay. So over here in this case, this is working for these things and this might not work for things like this, right? So again, you can use HTTPS over here because you want to make sure that it works for HTTPS. Okay. Or it says, yeah, HTTPS over here as well, right? So it is going to work. But try those different things out and you might see that something which is working for you. So yeah, again, Sudipto, a lot of people have spent a lot of days trying to come up with a good regular expression for hyperlink. So rather than, I would suggest if that is something that you have come up by yourself, there will always be a corner case that you have missed out. And there are some other folks who have used it, right? So if you're sure that your data set, everything will be in that format, then yes, go ahead and do it. But in general, there are so many corner cases to the hyperlink format that can be done. So you might be, to be on a safer side, I'm using something which a lot of people have spent really lot of amount of time on figuring out if it works for all corner cases. Okay. So as you see, there are a lot of things that they are trying to match over here. Okay. So once we are over here, let's say clean text is equal to the same thing. And instead of this, I'm going to say, and let's make sure we say R over here to indicate this is a regular expression. We could say URL regex pattern. And let's see if this works. And indeed, now I don't have this HTTPS URL from my tweet in my after text over here. Okay. So completed it. Yeah, sure. So let me share the regular expression which I got from Stack Overflow over here. So this is the regular expression which I got. And let's say we share it with everyone over here. So everyone with me over here, everyone has changed their URLs to empty spaces. Okay, great. So the next thing that I want to work on is removing all these punctuation marks as well, right? So because when I'm doing topic analysis, I don't want my topics to be filled up with all the punctuations. I want important concepts from this text over here, right? So what we are going to use is a important package that you'll be using when going ahead in the class, when we'll be using natural language processing as well. But for now, let me just introduce that to you in the few minutes that we have. So I had asked you guys to install a package called NLTK. So were you guys able to install that? Does everyone have NLTK installed? So if you do an import NLTK, does that work for you if you do this? So okay, so if you have NLTK imported or done, let me know. The other thing that I also asked you to do is also say nltk.download. Okay, so I had asked you to do this. And once you do this, what you would see is your download window. And I had asked you to download the popular packages which were over here. So has everyone done this? So I see a yes from Piyush. Sudipto has it. Vibha has it as well. Nitesh and Himanshu, how are you guys? Do you have these packages downloaded? Okay, so I think Nitesh is remaining. So Nitesh, quick things. We might not be able to wait for you over here, but what you need to do is say import NLTK. If you have this, you can install NLTK by saying pip3 install NLTK. And once you have installed NLTK, you need to say NLTK download in your Python script. Okay, and once you download it, that window will pop up and you need to download the popular packages over there. Okay, so the instructions are already there on your email address. So check your email for the email that I had sent you guys, I guess this Friday. Okay, so download that. Once you download it, we'll be able to import some packages from it. So I'm going to import a few packages which are which we are going to use to remove our punctuations and do some further processing on our data. So I'm going to say from NLTK import word tokenize. Okay, so what word tokenizer does is it separates your a sentence into individual words. Okay, so I'm gonna show you how is this different than doing it the regular Python way. So if I had given you this sentence over here in Python and I told you give me a list of all words, what will you use? How can you I don't want to use that word over here. How can you separate all these words separately in a list? Yeah, you could use a split, right? But let's see how is word tokenizer different. So let's say I'm over here, I'm saying import from NLTK import word tokenize. Okay, so now let's go over here. I can say over here, I can again say, or let's say clean text is equal to word tokenize the clean text. Okay, and let's see if what am I getting. Okay, so look at this sentence over here and look at the way word tokenizer has separated everything. Can you see the difference between what a split would do compared to what word tokenizer has done for us? Read these two things. So Sudipto said that we could use simple split method on a Python string and we would have got, we would have split the string by spaces over here. Okay. But instead I had, what I told you is use the word tokenizer from NLTK package. Why are we using word tokenizer when we could have done a simple split? So look at these before and after, and can you think what is something unique that word tokenizer is doing for us which the split method wouldn't have done it for us? So look at these things over here. So look at the words and compare it in your head with what a split would do. Yeah, Sudipto got it right. Over here, there was a word called Bihar, and then we had a punctuation over here, right? But what word tokenizer did was it did not do a simple split based on spaces. Otherwise, this would still have been in the same word, right? So Bihar, the apostrophe over here, or the colon over here, would have been there after this, right? So, but what word tokenizer did is separated out all the words and the punctuations that were there. Okay, so that is something unique that word tokenizer, or no, there are a lot of people who have worked on all the corner cases that could be there in sentences, and especially English sentences. There are the NLTK packages available for other languages as well. So in those cases, you are much better off using something like word tokenizer from NLTK package rather than trying to do it yourself with Python split. Okay, does everyone agree with me over here? Is everyone understanding why are we using the NLTK package for word splitting rather than just doing a Python split method, the simple split method? Okay, great. So now what I could do over here, I want to remove all the punctuations, and there are so many different ways of doing it. I'll show you just one way which you could use to remove these things. So what I could do is, let's create a new list over here. I'm gonna say tweet, I could say clean list over here. Okay, this is an empty list. So I'm gonna say for a word in clean text over here. Now this is a bit counterintuitive, so let me just say, let me do something else. So this is word list. Okay, and this is a clean list. So for a word in word list, I want to say, now there are, again, as I said, there are different ways of doing it. Here is one way. If you, there is a method called isAlpha in Python. If you use on isAlpha on the string, so there is a string method which is called isAlpha. Okay, and what this does is it checks if it has any no special characters, right? So if there is a semicolon or anything of that sort, it will return false. So, or in fact the other way around, if it has semicolon, then it will return false. So I want to say, if it is a proper, if it has only alphabets, right, only from small a to z and capital A to Z, only then, if word is alpha, then I want to say clean list dot append word. Otherwise I don't want to do anything. And then let's return clean list over here. Okay, so now seems like we have removed, so we've done this death toll from AES, we've removed the semicolon, Bihar is still there, Muzaffar is there, remains is there. One bad thing that we did was we removed the verse hit as well, which might be an important concept over here. Okay, and again 173 is also not alpha. Depends on what you are trying to do and how strictly you want. So in, let's say when I'm doing the topic analysis, I don't want the numbers to be scattered all around, because in your tweets you will start off with having numbers from 50 to 200, right? So when there were 50 deaths, you will see a lot of 50, 60, 70, 70, 80, 90, 100, right? If you want to preserve your numbers, maybe this is not a good choice for you. Okay, but if the numbers don't matter to you, you could use isAlpha. There are so many different ways of checking for it. So that is one simple way that I showed you. You could use more better ways. You could use a regex over there, right? Because there is a regex for punctuations. So if you use a regular expression for punctuations, maybe after you have separated it out, it becomes much more easy. Or you could apply the same thing that we did over here as well. So find a regular expression for all punctuation marks and remove them, and then do what we are doing right now. Okay. And also one more thing that we need to do is also we want to get rid of the stop words, because the words like in and those things are gonna appear far too many times than we need. Okay. So again, I'm going to show you how you would do it using NLTK, and I'm going to let you try out some other things as well by yourself. But let me show you how you would do it using NLTK over here. So using NLTK, we could also find out all the stop words. So this NLTK package has the list of all stop words which are there in English language. So you could say stop words. So first let's import stop words. I'm going to say from NLTK.corpus import stop words. Okay. And then once we have the stop words imported, then we could say stop words equals to stop words dot words in language English. Okay. All this information is there on their website as well. It is well documented. I'm just showing you a few quick things over here so that you can try some other things by yourself as well. Okay, so stop words, I have stop words dot English. So this will have a list of all stop words which are present in English language. So the only thing that I need to do now is I want to check if it is alphabet and also if it is not in stop words. So if it is not in stop underscore words, right? This is the name of the variable that I'm creating, stop words. Then I want to append it to my list of words. And I want to say and word not in stop words. Okay, so we got rid of the in as well, right? So death tolls from, we got rid of AES, reaches, we missed out 173, and as I said, there is a better way. If you can come up with a better way, that's good if you want to preserve the 173 digits as well. Bihar, Muzaffar remains. Now we lost the worst hit over here. When did we lose it? Because when we did is alpha, we lost the worst hit as well. And we have already removed the URL. Okay. So that's one way of doing it. And I'll encourage you to find out some other ways of removing the important concepts that we are looking for as well. Note that this is a list over here. We don't want to keep it as a list, but rather I would prefer it because this was a string. So I want to keep it as a string. So I can convert this list again to a list of strings. I can say return clean list dot join. So if I do a join on this one over here, I could say dot join on clean list. So I'm saying use a space and join all the items in this list. To join all the items in this list. So now as you see, I've joined all the items in the list again to a string. Okay. So here's what we did. Again, here's what we are trying to do. We are trying to come up with the important concepts from the tweet. Okay. We are not just interested in the tweet itself, but we are trying to find out important keywords from that the tweet. So we did a bunch of data processing, pre-processing techniques and cleaned our tweet to get to a shape where now this is much more useful in any of our data pipeline rather than giving this in a raw form. Okay. All right, guys. So did everyone understand what did we do and how did we approach going about it? Are there any questions?